A, and it stands for adequate physical care. Our physical health is closely linked to our mental well-being, so it's important to encourage active lifestyles by aiming for at least 60 minutes of fun physical activity each day, like bike rides or family walks. Focus on nutrition by enjoying healthy meals together filled with fruits, vegetables, and whole grains, while staying hydrated to boost mood. Prioritize sleep with consistent schedules, so that's 9 to 12 hours for children and 8 to 10 hours for youth, and establish calming bedtime routines. Finally, embrace the outdoors, as time in the sun can enhance vitamin D levels and help reduce anxiety and depression. The next letter is R, and it stands for two things: role model and reduce screen time. So first, let's start with role model. Okay, as a millennial who sometimes struggles with screen time myself, I want to acknowledge that screens aren't all that bad. They can be an educational and a great way to connect with friends and family. The key is setting boundaries. For children under 24 months, the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends no screen time except for video chats. For children ages 2 to 12, aim for about 1 hour per weekday. And for youth, the limit is 2 hours a day. Here are some ways to help children with setting their boundaries: turning off all screens during family meals and outings, turning off screens and removing them from bedrooms 30 to 60 minutes before bedtime, using parental controls, maximizing in-person activities and sleep time than total screen hours. Talk about online safety and the risks of sharing personal information. The last letter is E, which stands for recognizing early warning signs. It can be incredibly distressing to think about your child struggling with mental health issues, and no parent wants to believe their child might be facing such challenges or even suicide. It's hard. Many parents find themselves in denial, which can delay important support. But when you see early warning signs, do not wait. Early intervention can make a significant difference. Addressing potential mental health concerns sooner rather than later can often prevent them from becoming more serious. So let's first look at some positive signs of mental health. If your child is between 3 to 5 years old and shows affection, smiles often, and is curious about the world around them, they're likely developing well emotionally. For children 6 years old and older, signs of curiosity, persistence in tasks, and self-control are great indicators of healthy emotional growth. On the flip side, here are some warning signs that may suggest your child needs extra support. For younger children, watch for frequent intense tantrums or constant irritability, fearfulness or extreme distress when separated from you, being easily startled by everyday events, frequent stomach aches or headaches without a medical cause, trouble sitting still or constant restlessness, ongoing sleep or eating issues, not interested in playing with peers or difficulty making friends, aggressive behaviors like hitting or biting or very withdrawn demeanor, a sudden drop in grades, or compulsive actions like repeatedly checking something. For older children, look for these things: a loss of interest in activities they once enjoyed, low energy, excessive sleeping or trouble sleeping, periods of high energy where they need less sleep than usual, increasing isolation and avoidance of social activities, extreme dieting or exercising, self-harm behaviors such as cutting, substance use including smoking or drinking, risky behaviors either alone or with friends, claims of feeling controlled by others or hearing things that aren't there, and thoughts of suicide. So, what do you do when you see these signs in your child? Well, first, it is important to remember that beneath every behavior, there is a feeling. And beneath each feeling, there is a need. When we meet that need, rather than focusing on the behavior, we begin to deal with the cause and not the symptom. So first, reach out to your child in a calm, gentle manner and practice the open communication techniques we discussed earlier. Second, please do reach out to a professional. We want you to know that there is absolutely no shame in asking for help, and that by reaching out, you are doing what's best for your child by getting them the help that they need. This professional can be a school counselor, psychologist, nurse, doctor, or other trusted healthcare provider who can do a more thorough assessment of your child and provide care. Your state or local office of mental health might be able to offer in-person or telehealth family support services. There are support groups and hotlines that you can reach out to for free and confidential support and resources. After this webinar, we will be sharing with you links to these resources and hotlines that you can save in case you will need them one day. Lastly, please make sure your child or youth have several emergency numbers saved on their cell phones, because their ability to get immediate help for themselves or for a friend can save a life someday. Check if they have the phone number for a trusted friend or relative, the non-emergency number for the local police department, and the number of the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, which is 988. So there you have it. CARE. Communication, coping and problem-solving skills, adequate physical care, role modeling, reducing screen time, and recognizing early warning signs. These tips are designed to help you raise thriving, resilient children who will grow into thriving, resilient adults. But before we wrap up, let's talk about nurturing you, because your mental health matters too. Parenting is hard work, and it becomes even more challenging when your child is struggling with mental health. It's natural to find yourself asking, what did I do wrong? Could I have prevented this? Those questions can feel overwhelming and often lead to feelings of guilt or helplessness. And that's why it's essential to practice self-compassion. Remember, you're doing the best you can. Everyone makes mistakes, and no parent is perfect. We're all learning how to meet each child's unique needs. So take a deep breath. Set aside time each day for self-care, whether it's a walk outside, indulging in a hobby, journaling, or enjoying a night out with friends or your partner. You're not alone in this journey. If you're feeling overwhelmed, don't hesitate to reach out for help. It's completely normal to feel this way. Seek support from your partner, trusted family members, or friends. They can offer emotional support or practical help, like running errands or pitching in with chores. People genuinely want to help, they just need to know how. Also, consider joining a local parent support group through your church, hospital, or online. Connecting with others can provide a sense of community and shared understanding. Remember that taking care of your mental health not only helps you, but also sets a positive example for your child. So, we've covered a lot today. And as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a gentle challenge. I encourage you to choose at least one action from our session, whether it's starting an open conversation with your child, taking the whole family for a walk outdoors, or setting aside time for self-care. Each small step brings you closer to creating a resilient and healthy family. You now have the tools and support to make a meaningful difference, not just for your children, but for yourself too. By prioritizing your child's mental health, you're planting seeds of love, support, and resilience that will flourish over time. Let's keep being intentional about nurturing mental health in our homes and communities. And remember, you're not alone on this journey.
And Dr. Stricarton, we have our first question. Is any amount of social media for teenagers or young children okay?
That is such an important question. And I am sure not only parents struggle with that question, but most of us struggle with that question. We're living in this world where social media is just the norm. It's required for our jobs. It's sometimes required in our homework and our schoolwork. And it's really important that we as parents model the use of social media and screen time, I'll add that in, to our children. As Leanne shared, the American Academy of Pediatrics really recommends that children under 12 have limited screen time, as well as children over 12, and that parents need to be actively involved in their children's online activities. So that would look like watching things that your children are watching, monitoring the things that your children are watching. And also, I want to point out that there are a lot of benefits to screen time and social media, as Leanne suggested. There's opportunities to learn. There's opportunities to connect, right? But there are challenges as well, not so much about the amount of time, although more time means less time to do other things. But there are really challenges about how screen time and social media are being used. And the more exposure kids have to screen time can lead to more opportunities for negative experiences. So as parents, we need to make a routine of viewing with them, but then also talking about safety in screen time and safety in social media, setting up those privacy standards that we want for our kids. We need to talk to them about safety in social media and about the potential challenges of oversharing. We also should talk about the effects of bullying and social media. But the other thing we need to do is we need to talk to them about how they should behave on social media, right? To be nice, right? And to think about what they're about to share. The other thing that I think is important to understand is something called social comparison. I think as an adult, I've experienced this myself, where you see someone else's social media and you think, oh, I wish I could do that, or I wish I could go there, or I had that. Our kids experience that too, but they don't always understand the difference in what they're seeing being, glossed over and having some sort of a filter on it, right? And so they start to develop things like anxiety, symptoms of depression. There's another phenomenon called fear of missing out. Have you heard of FOMO? It's one of the latest things, right? That constant checking to see what the latest TikTok or Instagram trend is. I heard a little girl the other day saying, when I don't have my phone, I'm so worried I'm going to miss out. I'm going to be left out because I don't know what the other kids are talking about. So, yeah, social media is something we can't avoid, but we have to be constantly supervising, not constantly, but making sure that we're intentional about the supervision that we offer, and be places where our children can talk to us about what it is they're being exposed to. Remember Leanne's analogy of the sunflower. If the sunflower is inside all day, it's going to grow, but its roots might not be that strong. So we need to make sure our kids are being exposed to more than just the social media and screen time, for sure.
If I haven't been communicating, next question. If I haven't been communicating well with my child and they're resistant, how can I change our relationship?
I love that you're asking that question. Thank you so much for having the courage to ask that question. Leanne's CARE acronym was so helpful. The CARE acronym, the C in CARE, at least the first C, stood for communicate openly. Communicate openly. That's hard to do, right? And when you've had a relationship that's been struggling, it takes time to rebuild that communication. But as a parent, it could start with you by saying something like, I'm sorry. I realize I haven't been communicating well with you, and I want to do better, and I'm going to do better. I might make some mistakes in the process because I'm learning, but I want you to know that you are important to me, that I care about you, that I want you to feel safe, and that you are loved. So own that you haven't maybe done it well, and then commit to doing better, but it will take time. Creating a safe space where they feel heard and understood is really key in this situation. How do you do that, though, if especially the relationship's been kind of struggling? Some things you can do. some consistent small efforts like spending quality time together. It'll feel weird if you haven't been doing it before, but it's a way you can start that change process. Start scheduling weekly time with your child if you're not doing that already. Maybe go to things like baseball games where there's some downtime, where you're just sitting next to each other, waiting for the next play or some other game or something like that, and engage in small talk. Start talking to them. Ask how their day was. Ask what they're doing for homework or what they're doing on social media, right? Make some casual time to start talking, and that relationship can gradually start to open up. Also, as it opens up, be ready for some sharing, right? And that means we need to learn how to practice listening with a non-judgmental attitude. Your kids are going to share some things with you. That is going to require you to do your own self-regulating. But having that non-judgmental attitude when your child shares that they're struggling communicates to them that you really are safe. And they can share those hard moments with you without you shutting them down, judging them, or telling them that their feelings are wrong or something like that. Those are hard moments again. And you have to practice, like I said, your own self-regulation. So in order to prepare for that sharing, I'm suggesting that you start to cultivate your own practices of self-care. Like choose a breathing exercise that really appeals to you, or stretching sometimes works for some people. Maybe, when your child starts to share something and you start to feel like you're getting agitated, maybe create a situation where you can take a pause, go get a snack, come back and continue the conversation. But when you do come back, or when the child does share, it is really important to connect first. Before you start to dig in and say, oh, I can't believe that happened. I can't believe you're thinking, or don't go there. Don't go there at all. Instead say, I hear you. That sounds like it was really, really hard. And if you can relate, say, yeah, as a kid, I felt that way too. It's okay to do that. Don't jump straight to problem solving. Instead, listen. And if you'd like to ask, you could say, would you like some help with that? Or do you really just want to talk about it right now? But let them lead and trust them to know that they either want to just share and vent, or they actually want to get your help with solving something.
Great. We have another question. My child is exhibiting signs they're struggling with their mental health, but they say they're fine. What should I do?
That is a common thing that happens for parents and for children, for teens as well. It's important to approach your child gently when they're resistant to discussing topics like mental health. It's also very important to respect their need for space. As I said previously, ask, do you want solutions or do you want care right now? Are you looking for help? Would you like to share? But if the child doesn't want to, what you can do is you can leave the door open for more communication later. There's a couple of things I've seen done. I like these things. It's to create rituals in your home. These are things you have to create ahead of time. In the moment, they won't work. You have to have already made a plan for it. But your child can have a way of expressing to you that they're ready to talk. With younger children, it could be something like saying, when my favorite stuffed animal is sitting on the chair, that means I'm ready to talk, mom or dad. When my stuffed animal's on that chair, we can talk about it. But until it's on the chair, I need a moment. Another thing I've seen work pretty well with older children, with teens, even young adults, is to have a book in the home that's kind of a shared communication book that's special between the parents and the children and teens, where the teen can leave a note, right? And then the mom can leave a note. And then another way that some teens like to do this is, let's text about it. Rather than talk about it, let's text about it. But leave that window of communication open. Don't close it. Remember the principles we talked about above, though. You have to connect first and validate the feelings that they're feeling, not shut them down, and avoid jumping to solving problems first. If your child is still struggling, though, and not sharing, it's important and it's okay to ask for more help. We had talked about role models. Well, kids have a lot of role models in their lives. Not all kids have a lot, but there are role models in many children's lives, like teachers, right? Or some other trusted adult. It could be a coach, it could be choir director, it could be somebody in the church. Sometimes it's helpful to go to that person and say, hey, I'm having some struggles. I don't know what's going on with, Tammy over here or Jonathan. I need some help. And they talk to you. Can you help me out here? And maybe that person can help that child know how to tell you what's going on, right? So bring those allies in. We really raise children in community, not alone. So get help if you need it. It's also okay to ask for professional help. If your school has a counselor, start there. If your school does not have a counselor, you may have to turn to some community resources, right? But ask for help. That's really vital. Now, in the case that your child is exhibiting more distressing signs, as we mentioned, definitely get professional help. In the United States, 988 is our national crisis and suicide hotline. You can even call them if you're not suicidal. If your child is not suicidal, you can call them and say, hey, this is what's going on. I need help. And they can walk you through some of the ways that you can resolve some of those crises, right? So definitely reach out for help if you're struggling to resolve it alone.
Thank you. And our last question. I know my own mental health and well-being impacts the young people around me. What steps can I take to improve and take care of myself?
Oh, thank you so much for that question. I think we can all benefit from counseling, but we don't all need professional counseling all the time. If you're feeling very overwhelmed, though, seek professional help, find someone to talk to. And but even before that and with that, I want you to think about something called PACEs, which is PACEs. You've heard of ACEs. We had talked about ACEs earlier, but PACEs are protective and compensatory experiences. These work for children and they work for adults. I think we can apply them to both. But offering yourself unconditional love, spending time with a close friend and a best friend, so bolstering up those supports, right? Volunteering and serving others, helping others, getting out of yourself and helping and giving back. Being a part of a support group or a small group or a social group. You can Google parenting support group near me, and there's even virtual ones. My question for you is, do you have a mentor, somebody outside of your family that helps you grow and grows with you? Do you have opportunities to learn? Are you doing things other than just working and other than just parenting, right? Those are big things to do, but are you doing other things? Are you learning and growing? Do you have a hobby? Anything, right? Friends of mine and I are currently learning how to crochet. Just anything, something that is different, something that exercises different aspects of your brain. Are you physically active? I need to do more of that. If you're a walker, walk. If you're a runner, run. If you're a jogger, jog. If you just want to do cardio, if you just want to do strength, it helps exercise your body. And mental health is impacted by our physical health, we know. And then having routines for yourself. Routines for your children are important, very important for mental health, but they're important for you too. Having that predictability in your life, on this day, this is the thing that I do, on this day, this time. Obviously, your whole day is not going to be scheduled, but having certain routines that make you feel that sense of safety and security are important. And I think we can apply all of those things, not just to ourselves, but also to our children. So there's so many things we can do.
Thank you, Dr. Trecartin, for being with us today. And to our audience, we want to remind you to scan the QR code because we have a free gift for you. This kit contains invaluable information to help your child and you on your mental health journey. And also, continue to submit your questions through the chat. On behalf of ADRA International, thank you again for joining us today, and we look forward to further conversations.
Recording stop.